Okay, campers, rise and shine and don't forget your booties because it's cold out there today. It's cold out there every day. What is this, Miami Beach? Not hardly. And you can expect hazardous travel later today with that, that blizzard thing. Oh well, here's a report. The National Weather Service is calling for a big blizzard thing. Yes, they are. But there's another reason why today is especially exciting, especially cold. Cold! But the big question on everyone's lips, their chapped lips. You think Phil is gonna come out and see his shadow today? Punxsutawney Phil, that's right, with Chuckers, it's Groundhog Day! But you know what else? You know what else today is? It's Friday, y'all. Good morning! Happy Friday, everybody! Let's go! Friday, let's go! Let's go! Wake up! Wake up! I didn't, that's why I'm late! Hey! Shit happens, and also I had to go to the bathroom. What a morning! What a morning! Everything's working out. Everything is working out. You blew it! Yep, I blew it in the bathtub. Not the bathtub, the toilet. What the hell am I talking about? Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. It is 42 degrees outside here in New York City, coming to you live this morning on this really rainy and cloudy morning. The rain started pouring down last night after I was coming back home from the movie theater. And why was at said movie theater? I was at said movie theater because I went to see the brand new movie Argylle, directed by Matthew Vaughn there. So I'm going to be talking about that this morning with good old Phil. Phil's going to give his thoughts on the movie. And by the way, we have a breaking announcement from Phil from this morning in case you didn't hear it. So he's going to be chiming in on that in about a couple minutes. But yeah, we'll be talking about that. And for the video game portion of the morning, as I do every Friday, let's talk about that Sony PlayStation or that Sony State of Play kind of presentation that went down. We'll be talking about that, and I'll be kind of ranking, so to speak, the said reveals, and talking about all that good stuff this morning, along with the typical headlines and what have you. So thank you for tuning in, joining in on this Friday morning. We made it, y'all. The weekend is here. What plans do you all have for the weekend? Let me know in the comments if you're watching this live or in the chat below. I need that coffee. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I went to bed relatively early last night. And for whatever reason, I just missed my alarm this morning. It's almost as if my body said, you know what? No, I'm not going to do it today. No. And I don't know if it's because of the cold weather, the rain, the dreariness. I miss waking up to sun. And every day for the last couple of weeks, well, mostly every day for the last couple of weeks, it's been nothing but cloudy. The sun is nowhere to be seen. And that's pretty unfortunate. Because, it's nice to have a little sun every now and then, despite what you may feel about going outside or, how you feel about certain things like that. For me, I think sun is important to have in your life when you can. And it's unfortunate that, we couldn't have any of that recently, or we didn't have any of that recently. So I do feel like that's been adding to my kind of my dreariness in the morning. or lack of being able to wake up and eventually get fully energized. So so I have to resort to caffeine. And thank God for caffeine, because caffeine is necessary. Necessary. Mm. Matter of fact, I'm gonna have some right now. Mm, mm, mm. Caffeine. Thank you. All right. What was that, Phil? Sorry, what? Oh yeah, that's right. Phil's announcement. So if you haven't heard yet, Punxsutawney Phil, the seer of seer, the prognosticators of all prognosticators, woke up this morning and he did not see his shadow. So that means we're going to have an early spring, y'all. That's right. Good job, Phil. I'm glad. I'm glad, spring's going to come a little early. And if it doesn't, I swear, this is going to be a year I'm going to like cook you up and eat you. I don't know how Groundhog tastes, but we may find out this year if this guy's lying. But yeah. So if you don't know the tradition, and I don't even know if it is really, if we could really officially call it a tradition here, but in certain parts of the United States, they have this kind of old tradition where today is Groundhog's Day, and on Groundhog's Day, this groundhog, Punxsutawney Phil, from Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, this little shit wakes up, and if he sees his shadow, that means we're going to have an extended winter. That means we're going to have like, what is it? Like a month's extra worth of winter weather. If he doesn't see his shadow, that means spring is coming early. And there are other parts of the United States where they have their own groundhog. So I don't know if they have this, conglomerate that organizes what the groundhogs see or don't see, or if the groundhogs themselves have this internal network and they kind of chatter amongst themselves. They use some bulletin board or something, and they discuss whether or not they're going to see their shadow in the morning. Call it a shadow conspiracy. But so every morning, and if you go down to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, it's this huge event. You've seen the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. If you've seen that movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a real thing. Every year this happens. They have this big gathering. People are dancing and partying all morning. And they wait for this stupid little shit to come out and announce and proclamate whether or not he sees his shadow. So this morning they had their little ceremony, and yeah, lo and behold, Punxsutawney Phil did not see his shadow, so we are getting an early spring. So congratulations to all of those who are waiting for warmer weathers to be coming, because it is going to be coming soon apparently. And if it doesn't, like I said, I'm going to hunt this guy down and cook him up. And then maybe I'll eat him live on stream. But the one thing that Punxsutawney did see this morning, as soon as he woke up, he's like, oh, I heard the new Argylle movie is out, so I'm going to go check it out. So, since he is the seer of seers and the prognosticators of all prognosticators, he decided to get up, and they rented a movie theater just for him so he could check out Argylle. And he told me some things, and I think me and him, we share very similar thoughts about this movie. So let's get into it. This movie, Argylle, the new movie release of the week, is directed by Matthew Vaughn. Now, Matthew Vaughn is better known for his movies, The Kingsman, this kind of franchise of movies that he's created for himself. So you have the first Kingsman that came out in 2014, right? Then you have Kingsman, the sequel, Kingsman, The Golden Circle, or something like that. That came out in 2017. And then in 2021, he made The King's Man, which is kind of like the prequel to all of these things. and that came out, like I said, in 2021. And now he has Argylle. He also directed one of my favorite movies of his, and that is Kick-Ass. I think to this day, Kick-Ass is probably his best film, which is going to tell you a lot about what I feel about this movie because Kick-Ass came out back in 2010. Um, and then there was a sequel that he did not direct. But then he also directed X-Men First Class, which is a pretty good movie too. I really enjoyed that movie, and that, of course, kind of reintroduced the X-Men to a lot of people. Kind of, gave that franchise another life under the Fox banner. Now, of course, Disney owns it all, and we're going to be getting eventually our own X-Men. Argylle also stars Bryce Dallas Howard, Henry Cavill, and then you have Sam Rockwell, Sam Jackson, Bryan Cranston. You have a lot of well-known people. This is a very stacked ensemble of a cast. And you also have some regulars that Matthew has worked with before, like in Sofia Boutella. He's worked with Sam Jackson a lot. So not surprised to see them come in here for that. And then you have Dua Lipa, because Dua Lipa, is one of those multifaceted, talented people. We've seen her briefly in the Barbie movie. And we've seen her on SNL, so we know she could do a little stuff in front of the camera. And then we also have Ariana DeBose. Catherine O'Hara is in this movie. So this movie is pretty damn packed, right? And the premise of the movie is you have this author who is well known for her series of spy espionage type of novels that centers around this one main character called Argylle. He's kind of like the James Bond, right? And he has this team that a lot of people know about, and he goes to these, adventures with. And we are introduced to this person played by Bryce Dallas Howard, who's Ellie is her name. And we are introduced to her while she is kind of in the middle of having some writer's block or writer's conflict as she's trying to finish out her 5th book in this series. At the same time, we also come to learn that she doesn't really have much of an outside life because she made her writing her life. So that means romantically, she has no relationship, no boyfriend, girlfriend, what have you. But she does definitely have this really tight connection with this Argylle character that she created, right? Then it comes to find out that a lot of things that she wrote were mimicking real life events, kind of predicting things. It was even mentioned during one of the Q&A sessions in the beginning of the movie, and that's not really much of a spoiler there. Like one of the guys stood up and said, "Hey, it's amazing. Your writing has predicted this. So, are you a spy?" And she's like, "No, of course not. Don't be silly. I just do a lot of research and all." But it turns out that it's true. And this dirty organization, shadow organization, is now out to get her because of that. And she meets Sam Rockwell, who is working for some other organization that's trying to save her, or at least keep the bad guys from getting her. And that's kind of like the premise of the movie. And then you kind of go on through there to see the adventure, exploits, all that stuff of what's happening with these characters. It should also be noted that while we are going through these things, we are switching back and forth between reality and her own imagination, because as she's writing the book, we are shown the story through her own imagination in the world that is now populated by Henry Cavill, John Cena, who plays his partner, Ariane DeBose, who's another member of the team. Dua Lipa is kind of like this villain baddie that they are going up against. So whenever we are whenever the movie tries to explain what she's writing or what her imagination is, we kind of go back and forth through that, which is fun and interesting at times. And I think overall, Ellie has some sort of mental connection where she cannot break away from the fact that she is so enthralled with this character, Argylle, that while shit is going down in front of her, we keep flashing back and forth in her mind and her point of view. She sees Sam Rockwell doing the things that Argylle would do. And they have this playful banter in her imagination that Argylle is doing all these things very suave-like and kind of winking at Ellie. Kind of like, I know what I'm doing here, and I know you think I'm hot, kind of thing like that. And you could see she's like, enchanted by all those things. She's enchanted by her own imagination. So there's something very unhealthy going on. But there's a reason behind all that, and I won't get into that just yet. I'll get into that when I talk spoilers and all. So, overall, the movie in itself is an interesting take on the whole I'm a writer or I'm a creator of something, and my creation is really happening in real life, and I have to kind of deal with it. We've seen this before several times in other movies, in other media, and all that. So it's not like a really new premise, right? For this iteration, I thought it was at times visually interesting to see. There were a couple of chuckles I got from the movie with some of the jokes and some of the back and forth. I thought Sam Rockwell is the breakout person in this film. He is fantastic all throughout. I really enjoy his acting. I always enjoy his acting, and I think Sam Rockwell is just a great person on screen. And once again, he proves that he is in this movie. I thought Bryce Dallas Howard was okay. I feel like she can be better than this, and I feel like her character here was interesting, but also very bland at times. As for the rest of the cast, I mean, a lot of these people just show up from time to time. I felt like Henry Cavill was more used as kind of like a tongue-in-cheek kind of character, more for comic relief. I feel like he was kind of wasted in this movie. Dua Lipa, all the marketing promotional material, they love emphasizing that Dua Lipa's in here because, of course, she's a very top name and big star right now, and she's in the movie just basically in the beginning, and that's really it. And she hasn't acted much, but I do feel like she still thinks she's acting for music videos. She doesn't know really anything but that style of acting. I don't know if that's really a knock towards her, or maybe she just needs better direction, or she just needs more exposure and more experience in acting, but right now she still acts like she's in a music video. So it's very like, stylish and very like everything has to be, sexy and what have you. And I feel like they tried with her. So I don't know if that's really a knock towards her, but some people either they can act or they can't. That's just how it goes. I thought other people within the cast, Bryan Cranston was cool. It's nice seeing him as kind of like a bad guy. Catherine O'Hara has her funny moments, but I also do feel like, it was kind of weird seeing her in the role, especially when the character became the character that character is. John Cena's John Cena. We don't really get to see much of him because he exists only in the imaginary world of the story that she writes. So we don't get to really see much of him. And same with Ariana as well. But then there's more about her later on. And Sofia Boutella just shows up very briefly. So I feel like this was more just like, hey, I love working with you, so be in my movie. The whole cat thing, we've seen it in all the trailers and all the posters and all the imagery. The cat gimmick got tired fast. Look, I don't mind cats. I'm more of a dog person. But I felt the whole cat thing was just way overplayed. I got so tired of it after a while. The cat should not have been in that many moments throughout the movie, and the cat is in a lot of moments in the movie. If you thought the cat was really up front and center in the promotional material, in the trailers and all, just wait. If you end up seeing this movie, this cat is everywhere, and it got tired quick. Now, if you're a cat lover, you may not think so. You may think that this is like the cutest thing you've ever seen, and you love this cat, and this cat is definitely a character on their own, and blah, 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 this and that. Not for me. This character was just annoying after a while, and I hated that it had to show up from time to time the way it did. So overall, my main opinion about this movie and my review here is this. This is the type of movie. That's why it for me personally, it begs to question who this movie was made for. I feel like this movie is perfectly made for an older parent or older parents or grandparents, and they'll see this movie and they'll say, wow, this movie was super cool. You know, but someone like myself or a younger generation may watch this and be like, what the hell did I just see? I feel like it kind of has that Spy Kids, but for adults feel to it. Now, I've never watched Spy Kids because I never felt I was that kind of audience for Spy Kids, so I never watched it. But if I watched Spy Kids as an adult, and if the movie was made for adults, then I would feel like this is how that movie would end up like. It was very boring at times. I felt like there were many moments where I should have felt excited or I should have felt amped, especially because Matthew Vaughn, his specialty, as we've learned with the Kingsman movies, with Kick-Ass, is he loves his action scenes. And he loves his action scenes to be very choreographed down to the music. And you could always expect some upbeat or unusual music choice. And he loves going back. He loves going to like the 70s, sometimes the 60s when it comes to his fight scenes. And he'll come up with some obscure song or a song that you and I would know, but never thought we would see attached to like a full-blown action scene. And his action scenes are very well shot and edited so that you feel like you're in the middle of it all. You know, when someone flips over, the camera follows that person flipping over, this and that. If you know his movies, you are very familiar. This is his trademark. Even during all those scenes, I, as one watching it, just like when I watched John Wick, you feel like you should be amped. You should be like, yo, yo, yo. Also with the Mission Impossible movies, you get that sense. In this, I was not getting that. I was just watching it. I'm just like, oh yeah, cool, cool. Cool. That's it? Okay. I just didn't feel the impact that these scenes should probably have for a movie like this. And then there's that twist that happens in the movie that I won't get into just yet. And I'm just like, really? Okay, that was interesting. Let's see how it plays out. And then when it plays out, I'm just like, oh gosh, what's happening here? Like it didn't hit with me. It didn't mesh with me. So with what I said before, I'm going to reiterate again. I think this movie was made for those who don't watch movies often. And dare I say, this also felt like a kind of movie that you could have just easily watched on Netflix or Apple Plus. Most of the time watching this movie, I felt bored. I felt like things dragged at times. Even though some of the dialogue back and forth between Bryce and Sam were funny at times, and I did chuckle. And I like Bryce Dallas Howard a lot, actually. And I love that she was like kind of the main character in this movie. I've seen Bryce do a lot of things in this movie I don't normally see her do, and I think that is great. I think she should allow herself to do more of that kind of stuff, but it just didn't work for me in this movie. And unfortunately, I felt like the movie just dragged. And there are moments I actually was checking my clock. My clock. What the hell am I talking about? Like I'm in the old timey times. I am checking my clock. No, I was checking my watch to see what time it was because I was surprised that the movie was still going on. So I gave this movie a 2 out of 5 stars, and it was just not good. And I question where Matthew Vaughn is at as a filmmaker right now, because like I said, he started off his career pretty strong. You know, most audiences were introduced to his stuff with Kick-Ass. And like I said, to this day, I still think Kick-Ass is probably one of his best things. You know, and then of course he does X-Men First Class, and then he does The Kingsman. And I thought all those movies were great. And I think because of that streak that he had something good going for himself. Something really, really, you know, interesting. And like, oh, this could be a new up and coming director here, especially with like these niche type of storylines. And then the sequel to The Kingsman came out, and it was just that wasn't so good. And then the sequel to and then the prequel to The Kingsman came out, and you know, some people thought it was good. I thought it was okay. Yeah, I wasn't like really shouting to the rooftops or off a cliff about that stuff. And then we get this. So it made me question myself as I was driving home about Matthew Vaughn. And is Matthew Vaughn becoming another Zack Snyder, where he's definitely set his own visual tone when it comes to his movies. We kind of know what to expect with his kind of visualizations and his editing. Like as the movie was starting, it immediately felt like a Matthew Vaughn movie to me. It felt like I was watching another Kingsman or a Kick-Ass. It had that type of opening. And the fight scenes are all they all have the signature style of Matthew Vaughn. Especially when I mentioned about the soundtrack, the music, you know. And then the ending is very similar as well. And we do get like one of those like unique kind of post-credit like scenes, right? So everything has his signature to it, but I'm starting to wonder if he's turning into like a Zack Snyder, where visually it's cool, but everything else is just bland. You know, and that's kind of how I felt. This movie felt bland to me. And I think it was, in a way, a very missed opportunity. I think it was a missed opportunity because the premise in itself is interesting enough that you could have turned something into something fun. And like I said, it's a premise that we've kind of been introduced to before. It's not new, but with this type of execution and the kind of twist in the middle or towards the end is something interesting and different too. But it was just not executed properly for me. And apparently for a lot of other people who saw it, because this thing is getting blasted on Rotten Tomatoes and other review sites and all. But like I said, when I was, you know, the audience that this movie is meant for is not me. It's for people who probably who don't watch movies a lot throughout the year. It's for an older crowd. Who, you know, it's Spy Kids for adults. And the reason why I also say that is because in my audience, there were several pockets of older people watching it. And I heard them having the time of their lives. They were laughing at everything. They were like kind of gasping and awing on a lot of the action scenes and some of the moments. And as people were walking out, because I always stay and I always watch the credits, as they were walking out, they're talking about the movie. It's like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen if they're going to make another one. And they sounded excited. But I didn't. I wasn't. as I'm losing my voice. All right, calm down. But yeah, I was sitting there just kind of pondering. I'm just like, what was going on here? What happened? You know, and it's no surprise that this movie came out in February at the tail end of January because it just I wonder if they knew that this wasn't going to be good. Or maybe they were hoping that it would be good enough, right? But it can't be good enough to survive during the summer or during the holidays. But like I said, it's unfortunate because a lot of the talent that was attached to this movie, I feel, were wasted. But at the same time, I also feel like some people kind of phoned it in. Sam Jackson, I felt like he kind of phoned it in. He showed up for maybe a couple of days and they shot his scenes, right? And then that's it. You know, Catherine O'Hara doesn't get opportunities to have roles like this usually, and she took advantage of it, and good for her. You know, Henry Cavill, I don't know what the hell Henry Cavill was thinking about when he accepted this role, but yeah, he was mostly comic relief, I felt. You know, Sam Rockwell, who's such a great actor, he showed how good of an actor he is in this movie. And it was just, yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. So, yeah, so that's just my thoughts. I did not enjoy this movie. There was just multiple things that really just went wrong for me. But that's me. That's apparently a lot of people online, critics, all that. But there is an audience that really will enjoy this movie. And I'm telling you, it is the older parents, the grandparents, an older generation, the groups of people who maybe watch 2 or 3 movies a year. They're gonna watch this and they're gonna think this is the coolest movie they've seen. And that was the pockets of people that I heard talking about this movie as they were walking out of the theater last night. So yeah. So I'm going to just talk about some other things that I didn't like about this movie, and I'm going into spoiler territory. It's not going to be a lot, but I'm just going to be talking about that. So if you don't want to be spoiled for this movie, I'd suggest that now's the time to tune out. I'll limit myself. What time is it? It's 10:46 right now. I'll cut myself off at 11 a.m. So if you want to like tune out for a bit so you don't hear me talk spoiler stuff for this movie, I suggest you just tune out, come back at 11 a.m. if you're watching live, or if you're watching in the replay, you could just fast forward to the next chapter and, you know, that'll be easy for you. All right. I've said it. I've warned you. Let's go. So the big twist, who is Argylle? And like I said, this was an interesting take. And I was, you know, when it happened and when it was revealed, I was like, okay, let's see where they go with this. So the big reveal is that Ellie, Bryce Dallas Howard herself, the writer of all these spy novels, you know, why she's so good at writing them is because she herself was a spy. She just lost her memory. Why is she so good at this stuff? Because most of the stuff she experienced herself, and it's like slowly coming out. And how did she lose her memory? She was in a mission that went wrong, and she was captured by the bad syndicate. The syndicate that is run by Bryan Cranston and Catherine O'Hara, who then pretend to be her parents as they brainwash her and control her. Ta-da! And her new identity was Ellie Conway, but her original identity was Lyle? What's her name? R.K. Lyle? Get it? Argylle? R.K. The fuck? That was the dumbest shit I've heard. Shut up, people. R.K. Lyle? Really? Fuck off. When that reveal happened, I was just like, what You fucks. You fucks. And I'm taking that and I'm being literal about that too, because this was written by Jason Fucks. Jason Fucks wrote this. So fuck off. Fucks. But yeah. R.K. Lyle, or whatever that stupid name is. I'm close to it. So that was her real name. So of course she created this character, Argylle, who is a spy and doing all these things. John Cena, his partner, that was Sam Rockwell in her mind, right? The character Ariana DeBose plays is actually a real character. So she kept him in there. And in her story, she died. But then later on, she lived. And she was given the idea that you could shoot someone close to the heart, but in this little window that goes through and comes back from the end, so the person will live. And that came into play because she was faced with a moment where Sam was captured, and she shoots Sam apparently in the heart, but he lived. And the reason why she got the idea is because a fan wrote her an email giving her that great idea to bring this character back in the next book. So she said, I'm going to do it. And it worked. So these are all people that she has experience with in her older self. And as you go through the movie, it is revealed to her by Sam Jackson, who is this other kind of not I don't want to call them a syndicate. They're kind of like on the good side, the good side of things. He helped reveal it to her that this is really you. This is your life and all. Right? So you have that happening. You have the bad guys trying to prevent that from happening, all while they're trying to get this like kind of manifest with codes that will, to be honest with you, I kind of lost the idea of the whole plot because I was just like, huh? But there's something going down that they needed these codes for, and it was a race to who's going to get it, right? So slowly, Bryce Dallas Howard, Ellie, R.K. Lyle, or whatever that fucking name is starting to remember things. So all of a sudden, we're seeing her become the badass espionage person that she can be. So it sets up the arena where they're at the syndicate base and shit's going down, and now it's time to get dirty, right? So her and Sam Rockwell, they team up because at first it was thought that she was like a double agent or something, that she was working with Bryan Cranston, but she was just playing the role. So as, she's kind of revealing the location of Sam Jackson because the syndicate wants to take Sam down, right? She used their computer mainframe to transport the codes to Sam Jackson, all under their noses. And then when they found out, they're like, oh, you R.K. Lyle, how dare you? We're going to kill you now. So now they have to fight their way out, right? And look, Bryce Dallas Howard, when you look at her, you see, you don't immediately think, oh, she could be like a Charlize Theron action star, right? You're probably just used to her in the Jurassic Park movies, running around, hiding, escaping dinosaurs. But in this movie, they allowed her to be as free as possible. And they made her, all of a sudden, John Wick. And I am happy for her that she got her moment to do so. But it didn't work for me in this movie. It was so unbelievable. And they have this like little romance with her and Sam that it got to the point where I felt like I was watching something out of James Gunn's imagination, where there's so many colors going around and they're literally dancing as they're shooting people in the face. And I know if this was directed by someone else, or if someone knew how to really like make this a very impactful moment, that this could have been interestingly fun. kind of like what James Gunn did with the Harley Quinn segment in the Suicide Squad. Where she's kind of like in her own nutty way blowing people up, and you just see flowers shooting out all over the place. He got that original idea from the video game he wrote, Lollipop, Chainsaw Lollipop. I forgot the name of it, but you could look it up because I remember playing. It's like, oh my god, it reminds me of that. But this was just done in a way I was just like, you got to be fucking kidding me. What the fuck am I watching? What's happening right now? And if that wasn't enough, there's this other moment that happens around the same time where they are kind of trapped in this kind of, for some reason, this is an oil refinery. So, they were shooting involved, and like all of a sudden now you have this oil spilling all over the floor, right? So they have this thing where it's like, all right, guys, no guns, because we could set this place on fire. So guns down, knives out. So pew, everyone has their knives out. And Sam and Bryce is like, oh, what are we going to do? And then she gets this idea. It's like, wait a minute, ice skating. And he's like, what? As part of her memories that they were brainwashing her with, the idea of why she was in the hospital is because she was a well-known and very good ice skater that was skating on a lake, and it broke, and she fell into a coma. So she's like, was I really a good ice skater? And he's like, well, actually, that is true. You were a good ice skater, so that wasn't like a false memory. She's like, awesome. You are not ready for what happens next. As if this makes perfect sense. She takes 2 knives. Then she takes her boots. She slams her boots on these knives to make ice skates. She gets her other knife, puts it on the tip of her gun, so it's kind of like a bayonet. And now she proceeds to ice skate through the oil and fight these guys. What the flying fuck? You blew it! Are you kidding me? Look, I'm all about absurd stuff that happens in movies. If done right, I would tell you the next day that this was the funniest and coolest shit I've ever seen. But already at this point, I'm just like, you guys are jerks. Jason fucks, fuck you. So she's ice skating through the oil. And she's even doing like triple axels and all this stuff like that. And look, Bryce looks like she's having the time of her life. And like I said, I am extremely happy for her. So happy for her. I'm glad she's able to do something different. And I'm glad she had a lot of fun. Because it looks like she was having a lot of fun. But you know who wasn't having fun? This guy. I was not having fun. A waste. Just wasted. On a stupid movie like this. What the hell happened? But I'm telling you, there are going to be pockets of people out there who are going to see this and they're like, wow, that was awesome. That was super cool. And you know what? Good for them. I say it all the time. Just because I don't like something, that doesn't mean that other people, will think differently. I encourage everyone to watch movies for themselves and come out of it with their own conclusions and their own thoughts on it. When I blasted Rebel Moon, I said that's just me, a silly guy on the internet giving my thoughts and opinions about the movie. It's up to you, and I encourage you to watch it for yourselves and come up with your own conclusion. So here I am, a dumb idiot online, telling you about my thoughts about this movie. But you very well could enjoy it yourself. But for me, when you have a Bryce Dallas Howard playing a spy, an action star type spy, dancing, shooting people, and now ice skating through an oil slick floor, doing triple axles and lutzes, stabbing people in the legs and the knees. I can't. I can't. It just didn't work for me one bit. It didn't work for me. And then at the end, as they're trying to like upload these final codes and all, it turns out that she has this trigger, kind of like Winter Soldier. So Catherine O'Hara plays this kind of like ballerina music box and starts reciting these codes. And once you start hearing that, she kind of like kicks into like kind of super killer mode, and she's gonna kill Sam Rockwell and beats the living shit out of him. And just as she's about to really kill him, out comes out of nowhere Ariana DeBose's character, knocks Catherine O'Hara out, destroys the thing, and then she snaps out of it. And that's when it was revealed, you're alive! I was the fan who gave you that idea, because it's what happened to me! Wow! What a coincidence! Let's get the fuck on out of here! So, it's just crazy. And I see we're at the 11 o'clock mark. Just give me 5 more minutes if you're tuned back in. But the movie ends basically as her living the double life, right? She goes back to still being an author. She knows she's also a spy. She's now connected and hanging out with Sam Rockwell, Ariana DeBose. She's giving another Q&A session for her new book that came out. And the funniest thing that happened at the end is that you have Henry Cavill stand up with this weird looking mullet. And all of a sudden she's like flipping out. He's like, well, I have no question for you, but I just want to know something about what you think about, something to me. And she's like, oh, is he real? And then the movie cuts. And then, of course, there is a post-credit scene where we go backwards in time. We are at this pub called the Kingsman because he can't let go of the Kingsman franchise. And apparently we see what's supposed to be a very younger Argylle. Kind of like maybe entering his first mission or something like that. And then we get teased with this capper, this closing thing is like Argylle Book 1 coming soon. So does this mean that Matthew Vaughn thinks it's a great idea to now make a movie about the book in the movie Argylle? About Argylle? God help me, I hope not. Or is he trying to connect the Kingsman with the Argylle universe? I don't know. Everyone's lost their minds. I don't get it. I don't get this movie. Fuck you, Jason Fuck. You blew it!
I'm gonna come.
So yeah. All right. Wow, it's not really that funny. Jeez. So yeah. So that is Argylle. Very, very disappointing. And to be honest, I went into this not expecting much. I didn't really have high expectations for this movie. I just went into it seeing like, okay, let's see what this movie's about. Because, I mean, the trailers made it look somewhat interesting. But at the end of the day, it fell flat. It was very flat of a movie. So, yeah, so that's my review on Argylle. Of course, as always, as I am reviewing this, and if you're watching this on a replay, or if you're here now, let me know your thoughts. Is this a movie you're wanting to see? Is this, or maybe you've seen it already? What are your thoughts on the movie there? I'm always interested to hear your thoughts and comments. And yeah, unfortunate. And what's funny too is that after this movie, I basically needed a cleanser. So I said to myself, all right, I'm going to go to the supermarket. I'm going to buy some groceries that I needed to get. And I want to kind of go back and watch a movie I haven't had a chance to see yet. And I decided to go watch American Fiction. It's so funny how my day turned up being I'm watching movies about authors and their works and how it's affecting themselves, right? That's basically the kind of theme I had going on. And that was not planned whatsoever. And needless to say, American Fiction was 20 times better of a movie than this Argylle was. So there's that, right? But yeah. All right, y'all. We're at the halfway mark for this morning. Just a quick reminder that it's Friday. Happy Friday. I just talked shit about Argylle. Argylle is not a great movie. It sucks. It sucks. I don't want y'all to waste your time. Friday. Friday. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Don't watch Argylle. Save your money. Maybe catch it on streaming. Or not. All right. All right. Everyone calm your asses. All right. So there's that. What else should we talk about this morning? That's not going to get me pissed off. Well, it's funny. Like, as I was thinking about this morning and thinking about what I'm going to say when it comes to Argylle, I didn't expect that I was going to fly off the handle like that in a way. But it happened. It happened. All right. Let us talk about, I really want to talk about the Sony State of Play that happened this past Wednesday. Was it Wednesday when it happened? Yeah, Wednesday. I didn't have a chance to watch it as it premiered. I caught it yesterday. I watched the replay yesterday. So there was a lot of reveals and there was a lot of kind of mixed feelings online about the whole State of Play reveal and all that. I am going to pull up the video right now, and we're not gonna watch it here, but let's just go through each of the reveals, and I'm gonna give you my thoughts and all that, and then we could kind of determine which ones were the best reveal, better reveals, what have you. All right. So I'm gonna switch my screen real quick. And I'm actually going to mute this so I can kind of talk over it. So the first thing that we get introduced to during this whole announcement is Helldivers 2, right? Helldivers 2 is, I didn't realize that this was a big deal, to be honest with you. By looking at all of this, to be honest, it feels like a Destiny light. It feels like very similar to Destiny, except now, I guess in this new version, in the sequel, you're getting introduced to mechs that you can drive around with, which is kind of cool, I will say. I never played the first Helldivers, right? But yeah, like I said, just watching this trailer, and I'll have to say this too. I'm giving kudos to Sony and the studios that they worked with in working with these type of reveals for this presentation. And there we're seeing that you could drive mechs. A lot of the stuff that they showed was actual gameplay. We didn't get an inordinate amount, we didn't get inundated with trailers that were just all CG cutscenes. A lot of gameplay was shown, which I totally appreciate, because that's one of the things that I was bitching about for the longest time. It's like, I am so sick of getting hyped over just a CG scene or a CG trailer. I want to see gameplay. That's how you're going to capture someone like myself. Maybe it awes other audiences, maybe a younger generation. They'll watch this and be like, oh my God, that looks like the most coolest thing ever. But not me. I want to see what the game looks like overall. I need to see what the game looks like in order for me to get excited. Because if the game looks like shit, then I don't give a shit. I'm not going to even bother with it. For a game like this, I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat. You could kind of be like third person shooting with your squad or hop into a mech and do that too. We don't get enough games where you can have like multiplayer mech battles or co-op mech battles. I know there's that Mech Warrior game that people play, um, but that's more like multiplayer matches, right? Here, it looks like you can go through a co-op storyline and do that, and I think that's kind of neat. So I thought that was a kind of cool reveal there. As we move forward, this game, Stellar Blade, this kind of caught my eye, and it's funny. As I was watching it, I knew this wasn't a Japanese production. For some reason, this felt more like either China or Korea, and it turns out that it's a South Korean development studio. You know, because it just had that feel of something that's very different from Japanese, right? I kind of call this the Bayonetta clone because the character looks like Bayonetta in a way. The gameplay is kind of Bayonetta like, you know, with the guns and the fighting with the swords and all that. See, like you look at this, it's almost Bayonetta, Devil May Cry like, you know, and it's an interesting looking story overall. The gameplay looks interesting. It's nice to see something from a brand new studio that I'm not familiar with. You know, and they gave a lot of time on this presentation. I mean, you could kind of see how things are divided by chapters down here. Look at this chunk of time they dedicated to Stellar Blade compared to everything else. Now, of course, you're going to get the Rise of Ronin with some of its play because that's Team Ninja there. And then, of course, Death Stranding. Look at all this time they dedicated just for Death Stranding. Those were like the two major reveals of this of this presentation. But yeah, Stellar Blade looks fascinating to me. I'm not sure if this is a game I will personally play myself. It's also, in a way, very cyberpunk like in its aesthetics and some of the things that you can do. They have, you know, kind of like they treat it like it's a role playing game, like it's kind of like a Lies of P like, where you get this kind of campsite that you could sit and rest. I'm sure that's like your save state and everything. So it looks like it does take a lot of influences from other things, but they're definitely trying to make it their own. So I thought this was one of the more refreshing reveals of the presentation, if I'm being completely honest with you. But I feel like my only concern is that we see something as phenomenal as this, right? And we're not sure exactly when it's going to come out, but this reveal made us assured us that we're going to be seeing this year because they have a launch date that they announced at the end of this thing for April of this year. I want to get to that point where here we go, Stellar Blade. And I believe it's here that they said that this was going to be an April release. Yeah, April 26th, which is also refreshing because we've gotten teased by a lot of other newer studios, right? Of games that they're working on, but we don't know when they're coming out or they get pushed or delayed. What happened to that Monkey King game? You know, that very amazing looking game where you play the Monkey King from, you know, the typical mythical story, Journey into the West or Journey from the West or whatever. You know, from that, they're a Chinese development house studio, right? I feel like we've been teased with that game for multiple years now, and we still have no clear-cut date as to when it's going to be launched or when it's coming out, which is the weirdest thing. So that's why it is refreshing that at least here we're being told that it's coming out in April. So we shall see if that really happens. Next is Sonic X Shadows. Look, I no longer get excited for Sonic games. I feel like they all feel the same now, and there's nothing new or interesting here. Here, it just looks like we're getting another Sonic 3D, kind of like a Dreamcast one. But it turns out that there's an adult and a kid Sonic now. I don't know what that means. If this was revealed in another game, I don't care. You know, like it's just it's different, I guess, but it's interesting. But the coolest thing about this, I will say, is the shadow part, because like his levels look very different, and it looks like they are finally introducing some new gameplay features or gameplay loops. But I love kind of how the environment interacts in his stages. Like there's this one moment here. Yeah, when this was going down, I was just like, whoa, what the hell was all that? So I thought that was kind of cool, but at the same time, I like I said, I just don't get excited about Sonic properties anymore. Next one is Zenless Zone Zero. I don't know what this game is about. I don't know why they even bothered to show it when they have not much to show, but maybe it's because it's tied to someone who is well known or a studio that's well known. Is this the same studio that Japanese woman is leading up? The one that does like kind of like the speeches at like the E3 type events and everyone likes her. Is this her studio? I don't know. I don't know. I didn't care much for it. Foam Stars. So basically you're telling me that Sony now has their version of Splatoon. And that's basically what this game looks like. It looks like a very cheeky, kawaii-like version of Splatoon. Yeah, it's like they took Splatoon and they incorporated with like other battle royale like games that have launched recently, and they made it another type of battle royale game. And I couldn't care less about any of this stuff. I'm just like, yeah, no, not for me. No thanks. And then we got a Dave the Diver reveal with the weirdest kind of collaboration that I will ever see. I have yet to play this game, but I am so curious about it. So let me know in the comments if I should play this or not. But the fact that they got a Godzilla team up with this feels very out of left field. And I don't know if it makes sense or if it works, but now I'm extremely curious. So you got my attention. How it plays out for the rest of the game, I don't know. But I also do feel like they could have made Godzilla look a little bit more pixel-like, like the rest of the characters, but, it is what it is. So I'm a little curious about that. Then we got V Rising, which looks like a Diablo-like kind of action-adventure type of game, which looks interesting, but again, looks like other things that I've seen already before. So that's that. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of like the top-down kind of games that I feel like a lot of studios are doing games like this. There are numerous amounts of games you could find, whether through the Xbox Game Pass store or the PSN store. I feel like there's so many games like this out there. But this, again, it looks like something we've seen in the past, and it looks like they took some influences from other games like that, and they made another game of their own here. So I wouldn't say I'm excited for this. It's just, it looks interesting. And then we get the Silent Hill reveal. And I thought this was kind of brilliant to kind of whet the appetites for the Silent Hill folks, right? They announced that this Silent Hill, the message, I believe that's the name of it, right? The short message. And on the same day, it was available to download and play on your PS5. I like that they didn't make it exclusive to PlayStation Plus members, that they made it to anyone who owns a PS5, so that's good. So that is there. This was a reveal, and this was just a nice little tease to get yourself excited for Silent Hill. I downloaded it. I haven't played it yet, but I am going to play it, so I'm going to give my thoughts on that later on. But then they had the whole tease of Silent Hill 2, the remake that they're working on. So I'm sure a lot of you Silent Hill fans out there were ecstatic and super excited for this. I never played Silent Hill 2. I played Silent Hill 1 for the very first time a couple years ago. And I can see the appeal in it. And I think I got one of the worst endings probably because I just wasn't so serious about it. But now maybe it's a good time for me when this comes out to give Silent Hill 2 a chance. I don't know. Or maybe I can go back and try the second one. But I know that Silent Hill 2 is regarded as one of the best Silent Hill games, I think, from what I've heard from people who are fans of the franchise. So it's nice that they're giving it the kind of Resident Evil treatment where they're giving it a remake, and bringing it to the newer generation, a newer generation of fans. So yeah, so I would be down to check it out, and I think that is really cool and exciting for the fans out there. Then we get a game called Judas, right? Which just looked very awkward to me. And this is one of the ones that relied so heavily on CG trailers, on a CG trailer for all of this shit. Um, it's from the people who made BioShock. So it does have that kind of BioShock look to the characters there. Um, I believe, yeah, we got some gameplay here. It still feels kind of like BioShock to me. Um, so I don't know if this is supposed to be part of the BioShock universe or if this is just a studio that cannot get out of their own aesthetics. I really couldn't tell you what the whole game is about. It's called Judas, but it's in development now, and yeah, there's that. Then we had uh two reveals, two VR reveals, right? The hell was that? Am I the only one who heard that? It sounded like something fell. Hold on, guys. Just give me a second. What the hell was that? All right, hold on. I'm gonna check something out. Sorry. In the meantime, enjoy my view outside on this rainy, cold weather. I'm gonna check out what happened. All right, I am back. Yeah, I don't know what that noise was. Maybe it happened on top of me, the floor above. I have no idea what happened. It was just a weird, loud noise, like something fell. Oh well. I guess if anything was to happen, I'll find out later. All right, so let's continue. So yeah, so we got a treatment to a couple of VR teasers, and look, I'll be honest. When it comes to Sony VR, PlayStation VR, I feel like that is something that is eventually going to die out because you got the Quest that's killing it right now, and I don't feel like people who are into VR will necessarily get a PS5 for it. They're making the Quest portable and easier to not rely on like heavy computer equipment. So I personally think the VR is going to be the PlayStation VR is going to go the way of the PSP. I think eventually it's going to die out. But it's nice to see that they're trying still. They're treating us with this Metro VR. Metro is a game. It's a franchise. They always constantly try to hype and carry on. But watching this, I wasn't that excited for it. And then we got Legendary Tales, which again is another VR kind of fantasy adventure type of game here. And it looked interesting. Beating the shit out of a skull of a skeleton. It looks like you're playing like a kind of like a role playing game here. But I was just not excited. Look, I don't play VR. I'm not into VR stuff that much. I sometimes get headaches when I do that. So it's nice to see that they're trying to support it, but I just feel like eventually that this thing is gonna go away, and it's gonna be very much like the PSP. Then we get Dragon's Dogma. Capcom surprises us with a sequel to a game that I didn't realize, or maybe it wasn't that popular, that it deserves a sequel. But this is kind of like it's like a mix and mash of Final Fantasy and Monster Hunter in a way, just as far as the game mechanics go, and the looks and aesthetics. It looks great. It looks fascinating, and it looks like you're able to do co-op here possibly. But Capcom is an interesting company right now, and sometimes I don't know where their priorities lie. The fact that they have a lot of properties that they haven't decided to kind of continue and touch upon and work on outside of the whole Street Fighter realm, they decided to go to Dragon's Dogma. I was just like, okay, that's interesting. Was not expecting that. So, yeah, it is what it is, and I'm sure you're going to have your fans. Then we have Team Ninja with Rise of the Ronin. Now, this looks fascinating to me because it reminded me a lot of Ghost of Tsushima. It kind of also plays like Sekiro, with his grappling hook and all. I love the period. Basically, it's, we're in Japan when it's starting to get really like industrialized and everything. So I love kind of like that concept. In a way, it also kind of looks like they're borrowing some stuff from Assassin's Creed here, just with some of the mechanics and the gameplay. But this in itself looks fascinating to me. Now, is it going to be fun? Is it going to be entertaining? Who knows? I don't know. But anything that involves kind of Ronin or samurai, I am always a huge fan of. And this could be a fun game. This could be something very interesting to play and check out when it's available. So I'm kind of excited for this. And it did get, like I said, a good chunk of time during the presentation. And I think well deserved. Like I said, they gave us a lot of gameplay footage, which is extremely important for these type of things. So I'm really, really happy that we got to see how this game plays. And just by looking at it, like I said, this looks like a lot of fun. I really, really am excited to check this out when I have a chance. I wouldn't say it's like a day one thing, but it's definitely something I wouldn't mind checking out myself. Then we get a resurrection of a title that the horror genre fans really love, and everyone else basically does not. Until Dawn, the remaster here. And I think for what it's worth, this looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I've slowly gotten myself into playing games like this recently. Games like The Quarry, and there are other games along this kind of line here. And Until Dawn is a game I haven't yet had a chance to play. And I was actually almost this close to adding it to my games of 2024 pledge that I'm planning to play and beat this year. But I decided to hold off on it and maybe include it as a separate thing later on. But maybe it's a good thing that I haven't done that yet, because now I'll have a chance to probably play this remaster when it comes out. So I think this looks great. I mean, it's unfortunate that we did get a lot of CG stuff. We didn't get to see the actual gameplay, unless that was it. Unless what we saw was that, but I doubt that. But, that looks exciting. And then we get to the portion where, like many other places and many other things, we start stroking the dick of Hideo Kojima, and we give him the remainder of the presentation all the attention. So we get this giant CG movie presentation of Death Stranding 2, which is being called On the Beach. And what was really interesting to see here is that we have George Miller, the director of Mad Max, the franchise. We have him in this freaking game. Of course, we already know, or if you didn't know or not, I knew, because again, I'm a movie guy, so I love seeing this. We have Léa Seydoux here in this game as well. She is like one of my favorite underrated actresses who doesn't get enough attention these days. Not only that, but she's extremely gorgeous. So we have her in this, and of course we also have Norman Reedus here, obviously as the main character. I never played the first game, so I don't know how any of this ties into the original game. It still looks wacky and weird and funky and all that. And some people are into it, others are not so much. But yeah, it is what it is. That's how the game is. And it looks fascinating, a lot of story beats. And I think we're starting to learn, as Kojima-san is getting up in his years, he has a fascination of telling stories through a multitude of kind of media, forms of media, video games, and he's made it very clear that he's very much into kind of like movie storytelling and tying the both together. We started seeing a lot of that with the Metal Gear series, and now we're definitely seeing that with the Death Stranding series. So we get all of this, and then we get a bit where he talks about this new game that he's working with directly with Sony on. And it's here that he mentions, like I said, he's very interested in tying filmmaking and video games together to tell a story. So whatever he's working on here, we're going back to the spy espionage kind of genre, which he is well known for and where he was basically made his name in. And it's going to be this mixed combo of video game and movie, right? Whether it is a game that plays like a movie, so we're going to be seeing a lot of cutscenes, just like we do with his original games, or if there's going to be an actual movie that's tied into the video game that he's working on. I don't know. It could be a multitude of different things. We will wait and see. It's interesting, too, to hear that Kojima-san is playing both sides of the fences. He's working on stuff for Sony, and he's working on stuff with Microsoft and Xbox. He's not playing favorites, but it sounds like each platform is going to get their own unique Kojima project. So, take that as you wish, whether you're a fan of that idea or not, but it's giving something to both sides of the fences here. And if you are a person who falls in between them, like myself, I own both and I play both, not equally, but I still play both, then you are happy. And then here, I love this whole like little tease, like, oh, as I'm talking about this game I'm working on, that's going to tie into like film and movies and all that. Oh, let's pan out and we filmed this whole thing at the Culver Studios lot here, the Sony Columbia Pictures lot. And then we get the name Pheasant, right? Whatever that's supposed to mean. And I'm sure you had a lot of the internet sleuths online giving their take on what that name could mean. I don't care. I didn't care enough to like go into it that deeply. But yeah, is that Can you mix the letters around to have it spell something out? I don't know. But Fizzant, that is the name of whatever this new project that Kojima-san is working on with Sony directly. That it's supposed to be a combination of video game and movie, tying filmmaking and the video game making process together into one whole thing. So that was interesting in itself. And that was pretty much the state of play that we got. We were told at the end of it that there is another state of play that's coming out next week that will highlight more Square Enix's projects, which of course is going to be focusing more on Final Fantasy, the whole Rebirth thing, the new version, and some surprises, whatever those surprises are. So if I were to rank the biggest reveals that mean more to me than anything, I would say number one is this is a good one. I would say the number one reveal for me was the Until Dawn remaster. I'm very much excited for that. Then next would be the Rise of Ronin, because I am extremely excited anytime a new kind of samurai or Ronin type like adventure is introduced. Plus, we don't get enough of these, and like I said, it reminds me a lot of Ghost of Tsushima, which I really dug. And funny enough, Ghost of Tsushima is on my list of games I'm planning to beat this year, finally, as part of my pledge of 2024. Next will have to be Stellar Blade. Again, something new, something fresh. Even though it's very Bayonetta-like, I kind of like the idea that we're getting a game like that. So those are the top three for me. Like I said, I have no ties to Death Stranding because I never played the original one. And unlike a lot of other people, I don't stroke the cock of Kojima-san. I mean, don't get me wrong. I respect a lot of the stuff that he's done in the industry and his story making. And of course, I'm a huge fan of the Metal Gear franchise and all that. But I don't think he's deserved this kind of rock star treatment that he gets from everybody. He has the name. He has the kind of legacy and prestige attached to him. And I think that's why a lot of people glom onto him, because they want that, right? They want to say that, hey, this Kojima guy, he's working on something for us. And guess what? He is. He's working on something for both Microsoft and Sony together. So take that. So there's really like no competition, really, to be honest with you. Who knows? Maybe he'll do something with Nintendo. Could you imagine? So yeah, those are the major things that I would say that stood out to me the most during this State of Play presentation. I think at the bottom of the list is Zenless Zone Zero, because I don't know what the hell that thing is. Sonic, I could care less about. Foam Stars is a piece of shit. Look like Splatoon ripoff. Oh, and of course there's a Silent Hill. So the Silent Hill will come in probably fifth, if I'm to be ranking these things correctly. Because it breathes life into the Silent Hill franchise. Plus, it helps reintroduce the Silent Hill franchise to a younger generation. And now it gives me an opportunity and an excuse to play Silent Hill 2 finally. And then everything else is kind of just middling, like the Judas reveal, Dragon's Dogma 2, that's all like middling to me and all. So yeah. So those were my quick thoughts and takes on the State of Play reveal there. Like I mentioned before, I am planning to play that Silent Hill message download that was revealed. I'm planning to play that. So if you want to see my thoughts on that game, stay tuned to the channel. I'll give my thoughts. I probably plan on doing a review video on it, or a kind of like play along so that you can see my reactions to it. So I haven't quite decided yet, but stay tuned. That should be up on the channel within the next week or so if you're interested to see my thoughts on all that. So yeah, so that was the State of Play. I think now is a good time, as we talked about my two main topics, or three main topics, because we can't forget about this jackass behind me here. Why don't we do some headlines? How's that sound? It's headline time. So obviously this is a portion of the live stream where I, check out some of the headlines that have been hitting the internets for this past week, past couple of days since I last saw all y'all. And let's see what stands out to me this morning here. All right. As I'm going through some of the save storylines here. So something interesting. So yes, we got a reveal that we got the title and a poster of the new Beetlejuice movie that's coming out this year. So here we have the wait is almost over, and you have the call number here, as we usually get. And the title is Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, which is quirky and cute and fun. And that is the title of the new Beetlejuice movie coming out, Beetlejuice 2, that's coming out this year. So we got the first tease of that. So I thought that was kind of neat. That was kind of cool. Star-Lord 7, what's going on? How are you doing this fine Friday? Nice of you to, join in here on the festivities as we celebrate Friday. Gotta get down on Friday. This little shit behind me didn't see his shadow, so we're gonna get spring soon. Hopefully. All right. Thank you. So yeah, so that's Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. It was also kind of revealed that Tim Burton is set to direct an Attack of the 50-Foot Woman remake, which is a classic movies from 58 from Warner Brothers with Gillian Flynn writing the script. Now, this was one of those movies from back in the day, and I did watch this a long time ago, where it's just like it falls along kind of like the exploitation type films that kind of basically you have this giant woman running around town, right? And she became big because of some experiment went wrong. And this was a time where they're like, ooh, look at this big woman on the screen, who kind of played like this giant monster walking around. So it'll be interesting to see what Tim Burton's take on it will be. Because, he has proven himself to have interesting takes when it comes to certain things. There's some debate on Netflix's, on a comment here. Chief Content Officer Bella Baharia says Netflix will never do theatrical as our members love films and they want to see films on Netflix. So this raised a whole conversation online about, well, is Netflix nixing the idea of doing any kind of theatrical releases for their movies? I mean, they have to, because if they want some of their movies to be considered for Oscar consideration, they have to have some time in the theaters in major metropolitan cities. So there's a lot of debate on that. And I'll be honest with you, this was a big to-do about nothing. Netflix, they don't make movies for the big screen. It's obvious. It's plain cut and dry. There are some movies that they do know that they will release theatrically, like Maestro, or May December had a small release in theaters. Like, they will do considerations of that because they consider these movies to be contenders for the Oscars, right? But Netflix is a platform that just doesn't play that game. They want to focus on things that their viewers will watch on the platform to keep them on the platform. That's it. They're not a Max. They're not backed by a major studio like Warner Brothers. They're not Amazon. Like, Amazon Prime is really trying hard to make theatrical movies. And they're not Apple. They're not Apple, who is also, releasing movies in theaters and the like and all that. So it's very, very different situation for them. And I think they're comfortable with their situation, and they've proven themselves time and time again. They are kind of the role model and the example set for all the other streaming platforms out there. I said this in a previous episode before, where I said that anything Netflix does are looked at under a microscope and with a fine lens, because if it works, then every other streaming platform is going to copy it. This week, Hulu announced they're going to start cracking down on password sharing, just like Netflix did. So that means Disney Plus is there too. Expect Max to do the same thing. Peacock, all those guys, they're all going to start doing it because it's been working for Netflix. And it shows because in their recent report, financial report, conference, whatever call they had, they said they gained a bunch of members and they made a lot of money once they started doing that. So I think Netflix is fine and comfortable with doing what they're doing. Star-Lord here. So does this mean they will make a third movie but not fourth? I think, it's just one of those things where they're having fun with the title. Obviously, everyone who knows Beetlejuice will say Beetlejuice, 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 and then he's supposed to pop up, right? So I think they're making fun. They're having fun with that whole concept where it's like Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, and they're stopping themselves, right? Because this could be like, all right, second movie, maybe this will be the last movie, or maybe something interesting or weird will happen in this movie. Stop you from saying it all because something big is going to happen. And it leaves the door open too. So if they do have a third movie, then yeah, Beetlejuice would be funny and playing on that and whatever the case is. I don't think they're going to go a fourth movie here, but who knows? You never know what they're going to plan with something like this. Is the torch of Beetlejuice going to be passed on to somebody else? Because Michael Keaton's getting up there, right? And I don't know how much longer he's going to want to play Beetlejuice moving on. I mean, it took how many years? 30 plus years, this long to make another Beetlejuice movie? Maybe even close to 40 now at this point. So yeah, who knows? Star-Lord with, so if I saw the first Beetlejuice and watched Beetlejuice, is that like saying his name 3 times? Oh, very smart. Very smart. Oops, nope, wrong sound. I like where you're going there. That means, yeah, if you watched it in a row or at the same time, I think if you do that, then Beetlejuice is going to show up in your house and watch the movies with you. So that's what's going to happen. All right, moving on down the line here. Let's see. Yep, if you didn't know, commercials are going to be a major thing now with streaming platforms because Amazon Prime just introduced commercials to their platform, to the dismay of a lot of people there. This is just going to be the norm, and then everyone's going to have, their own ad tier subscription model, and the streamers, they need to know how to make money, and this is the time where now they're struggling. They're struggling, and they're just trying to play catch up because they never had a model for making money for their streaming platforms. They just wanted to put something out there to get viewers and subscribers, but they don't know how to make money outside of that. So it is going to be the norm. And it is now a second wave of cable television that we're experiencing. And it was bound to happen, whether you liked it or not. It was bound to happen. And I know a lot of people are complaining and bitching about it, but that's just how it is. As TV viewers, we dealt with it. And now as streaming platforms go, we're going to have to eventually deal with it in our own way. This just means that we're going to be cherry picking a lot. And that's just how it's going to go moving forward. So he said in an interview that it's his favorite character even more than Batman. I believe that. I mean, if you really think about it, Michael Keaton, his history comes from comedy. He used to be a stand-up comic, and he did a lot of comedic movies in his earlier career, in the earlier parts of his career. Batman was very serious, and plus it's been well known and documented that he had some qualms playing Batman because he hated the costume. He hated to be so restricted and confined in that thing. And that turned him off on the superhero genre for a very, very, very long time. Especially like with the fandom and all that. So with something like Beetlejuice, which allowed him to be, as free and freaky as possible and use his comedic chops, it makes a lot of sense. So it does make sense that that would be one of his favorite characters that he's ever played. I'm not surprised by that. And, he does it really well. I just hope that the second Beetlejuice, when it comes out, I just hope it's not going to be one of those things where, you know what, in hindsight, maybe we should have just left it the way it was before. We've seen that with sequels, recently, and it's just like, it's sad, it's unfortunate. I don't want it to become like an Indiana Jones situation where it's just like, all right, you have an older dude just trying to bring back this character to life, and it just doesn't work. But we'll see. We'll see. I am, of course, looking forward to seeing how it's going to turn out. All right, I'm here on Dark Horizons, just to see what other headlines kind of stand out to me and all that. I know, what was that? Donald Glover, Childish Gambino himself, said he will return in the movie for Community whenever that's made. Brad Pitt and Tarantino will reunite for The Movie Critic, the last movie that Quentin Tarantino is making. Let's see what else pops up. Oh, this was an interesting story, and I kind of want to read this for the first time here. I only saw the headline briefly, and I really, really want to know what this is about. So Cate Blanchett and Rami Malek were in a scrap Star Trek project, apparently. So let's read this. Whilst it has been flourishing on TV for much of the past decade, the Star Trek franchise on film has struggled since the release of 2016 Star Trek Beyond, with nothing going into production. Most famously, there was an idea for a reimagining of a classic series episode from Quentin Tarantino, who teamed with Revenant writer Mark L. Smith to do a script that fell apart. Yeah, so if you didn't know, Tarantino at one point was pitching a Star Trek film. Or at the very least, an episode of Star Trek, which I thought was fascinating. Could you imagine getting a Tarantino treatment for Star Trek? And then the article continues to say here, then there was WandaVision director Matt Shakman, who was supposed to make a fourth film in the Kelvin Timeline films, the Chris Pine-led ones. But he exited for the new Fantastic Four, which I think is a smarter choice, in my opinion. One of the more unexpected ones, though, was a completely standalone one from Fargo showrunner, writer-director Noah Hawley, who previously teased that it dealt with a galactic pandemic and had no connection to the recent films. In a new episode of Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert podcast, Hawley revealed Oscar winners Cate Blanchett and Rami Malek could have starred in the movie, saying, right, I was going to make a Star Trek movie with Cate Blanchett and Rami Malek. You could have had that America Planet Earth thing. It follows on from the comments he made last year to The Hollywood Reporter when he said managerial changeover led to his film being reconsidered and ultimately killed. Hawley isn't staying out of the genre, though, as he's currently working on his Alien TV series due to release next year. So could you imagine a Cate Blanchett and Rami Malek Star Trek movie, which sounds very, America Planet Earth, which sounds very grounded, which is that would have been an interesting take on it. I don't know how well it would have done, but that was definitely be an interesting take on it. Starlord chiming in, he could Tim Burton screw up Beetlejuice with all things. How could? Yeah. Well, I mean, Tim Burton, the thing about Tim Burton is that he sometimes falls into his own ego a little bit too much. And we get stuff like what is that? The Alice in Wonderlands or your Wonkas, right? Which go a little bit too far, or your Big Eyes, and sometimes he goes too much into his own ego, and he believes his own shit a little bit too much. But then we get things like Wednesday, which he produced, he created, he helped formulate, but he didn't direct all the episodes. He just directed a few, and it turned out to be fun and entertaining. So if we can get that, Tim Burton, then I think Beetlejuice is in the right hands, right? So we'll see. Let's see what else here stands out. Oh, you know what? I haven't had a sip of my coffee in a while. Oh, man. It's been a morning. Hey, Starlord. Just wanted to quickly ask, like, where are you watching from? I'm always curious about that. Just curious. Of course, always happy to have you here. Um, let's see what other stuff. I mean, it's been kind of a, to be honest with you, it's been kind of a slow news week. Nothing really crazy going on. This has been a week of a lot of financial calls and reports. If you follow the business, I got a lot of notifications. Like, Amazon had their call this week, Google had their call this week. I think Apple had their call this week. So it's a lot of financial stuff happening. That's why, unfortunately, we also had a lot of news of layoffs. Sega announced they laid off a number of people this past week, and obviously the layoffs from last week and all that. Oh, Louisiana, awesome, man! I've never been to Louisiana. What are the surrounding areas in Louisiana? There, I guess that is a part of the states I have not really had a chance to explore most of. That I'm hoping to correct soon. I for the longest time I've been wanting to do like this cross country drive, take like a good month and maybe do something fun like that. I've always wanted to do that just so I could finally explore a lot of the United States that I haven't had a chance to yet. I did a light version of that 2 years ago with my brother. We drove from here, New York, all the way to Colorado because I had a niece who was getting married there. So we did that kind of drive. And then we drove back. But we followed the same route back and forth. So I'm hoping to really do the full east to west coast trip and, and then all the way back. So at least I get to explore the northern part and the southern parts. And if I have a chance, maybe go a little bit in the middle and all that. Weather sucks, food's great. Yeah, I'm all about food. If I could find awesome food and stuff, then I am all in. I mean, New York, we have pockets of places that have great food, but depending on when in the year you come, you could also suffer from bad weather too. I mean, look at what we're having recently. It's been nothing but rain, clouds, and freezing temperatures. So it's not great. And the summers can be extremely humid and sweltering and not fun to walk around in. So there's always pluses and minuses everywhere. But I would okay, here's a question. If I were to have one food, one dish, one thing, what would be the main thing you would recommend me trying out whenever I visit Louisiana? Let me know. I'll be really curious to know what your choice and decision would be. All right, let's see. Oh, duh. This was a big thing that I kind of laughed at when it was revealed, when it was announced, because I honestly thought that this movie was DOA. It was done. The minute Bad Bunny withdrew from it, I thought it was over. But apparently, Sony is still working on the El Muerto movie. Why? I don't know. But Sony revives Marvel film El Muerto. A full 7 months after it was pulled from the release calendar, it looks like Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters, the Spunk.
I'm gonna come.
The SPUMC is set to revive El Muerto, the first Latino-led solo Marvel film to date. The project had been slated to star Puerto Rican music sensation Bad Bunny in the role, but multiple delays both before and during the strike saw him exit over a scheduling conflict. Variety, in a new feature piece about the future of Spunk ahead of the release of Madam Web, indicates Sony has quietly resumed the development process for El Muerto, and the hunt is on for a replacement to take the title role. In the comics, El Muerto is Juan Carlos Estrada Sanchez, a man from a long line of luchadors who inherit a special mask that grants them superhuman strength and other powers. Bad Bunny was seen as ideal for the role, for both his international high profile as a musician and his experience professional wrestling with WWE. Sony has 3 spunk films coming this year. Wow, they have 3? I didn't even realize that. Holy shit. Madam Web, Kraven the Hunter, and Venom 3. El Muerto likely won't be getting a theatrical release until well into 2025 or later. Okay, I totally didn't realize that Sony had that many Spider-Man universe movies coming out this year. That is nuts. The fact that Marvel proper has 1 film coming out this year, and you have these guys with 3, that could be another reason why Marvel wanted to take a step back. You know, and there are rumors going on back and forth that Sony and Marvel are having disputes about how to use Spider-Man moving forward. The whole thing about the next Spider-Man movie, how to use them in the MCU as a whole. There's a lot of back and forth going on. I think they're trying to dictate that they want to see Andrew Garfield in the role. They want to see, Tobey Maguire coming back, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff like that. And again, these are just rumors. Nothing has been confirmed or whatever the case is. And I think this is one of the reasons why, Marvel is seeing the calendar slate and they're saying, wow, Sony is really, really going in on hard with the spunk properties, right? So you got your Madam Webs, your Kraven, your Venom 3. Let's just chill out. Let's just put out our Deadpool 3, take a step back, and let's wait and see what's going to happen here. What the reception is going to look like when those movies come out, and what, how is it going to be received? Because at the end of the day, that can also help dictate how the relationship is going to be moving forward, and be like, look, Madam Web, maybe Venom 3 flopped and hurt your business more. You need Spider-Man to do well, and we have the abilities and means for it to do well. But you're going to have to listen to what we want to do with it, and all. So that could be something that's happening there. But the whole El Muerto thing confuses the hell out of me, because I don't know if it was like a movie that was not tied into the Spider universe, then I would be like, okay, this sounds like an interesting thing. But I feel like they're really trying so hard to tie everything to the Spider universe when they themselves have no plan or no kind of roadmap that will get all of these people into one movie together, and you have Spider-Man proper in it. Could this be a reason why they want Andrew Garfield coming back? Because maybe that could be their Spider-Man in their universe, while we have our Tom Holland in the Marvel universe. It's so confusing and so stupid. Crazier shit has happened, so who knows? But it's going to be an interesting year to see what will happen when all of these movies come out, because I'm telling you right now, there is no way in hell Madam Web is going to be good. I'm sorry. There's no way in hell that movie has any right to be any good. And if it is, I will come back here on the Friday live stream the day after I watch it, and I will eat this tissue. If it's good, I will eat this tissue, or a tissue. And I can easily and confidently say that because I know it's not going to be good. I'm going to watch it with an open mind and see what happens. But I think at the end of the day, I'm going to walk away wishing it was a porn instead, because you have these gorgeous women dressed up in cosplay. I'm like, where's the fucking?
I'm gonna come.
Oh my god, I don't know where that came from. All right, Cajun chicken and sausage jambalaya. Oh my god, you just made me extremely hungry right now. Oh, I love jambalaya, and I know I haven't had the jambalaya from that part of the States. If I could, that sounds glorious. All right, I will keep that in mind. because I love jambalaya. I love spicy food. Mm, you just made me hungry. Hungry. Star Lord saying Madam Web will have a baby and call him James with a superpower to see really far away. We'll see. We'll see. Now, I will say this. I think Madam Web, this is supposed to be a prequel, right? I guarantee I'm pretty sure this is gonna take place way in the past. Because Madam Web's supposed to be old, right? Weaving the webs of time and space and all. So I wonder if the movie's gonna end with us fast forwarding into the future. And we get treated with that usual image of her, with in her throne of webs, with the blindfold and all that. I wonder if we're gonna get something like that at the end. James Webb Telescope. Oh, I get it. I get it. Here. There you go. That's for you. I like it. I like it. But yeah, that's just how it is. We'll see. We'll see what happens with this spunk universe. Spunk.
I'm gonna come.
That's what it sounds like. All right. Let's see. Lastly, let's close it with this. And this was a piece of news that I was actually really happy to hear. Because I think it was everyone's understanding and notion that Kevin Conroy, the last time he ever voices Batman, will be in that video game coming out. As of today, Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, right? Which I already gave my thoughts on last week. Don't do it. Don't think it's worth it. Save your money. But Kevin Conroy does voice Batman in that. And that was like a cool thing to hear when I saw it. But it was confirmed this week that Kevin actually recorded Batman for a movie that they're working on. So here, yesterday came the news that Suicide Squad Killer Justice was not going to be the final voice appearance of the late Kevin Conroy as Batman Bruce Wayne. Conroy has been voicing said character since 1990s, excuse me, across various projects in several mediums, from Batman the Animated Series to the Batman Arkham games. His passing in 2022 led many to believe the new Squad game was his final recording work. But then an IGN report indicated Conroy had two further projects: the animated film Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earth Part 3 and an in-development Max series called Batman the Caped Crusader. Cut to today, and Bruce Timm, who co-created the original Batman the Animated Series and is an executive producer on Caped Crusader, has reportedly shot down part of that report with a post on AnimeSuperhero.com saying Conroy was planning to record lines but did not get around to doing any before his passing. I have no idea if the Crisis part of IGN's supposed scoop is true or not, but Kevin Conroy did not record a voice for Caped Crusader. We were hoping to have him do a voice for the new show, and he was eager to do it, but sadly he passed away before we could make it happen. As I have to do so every so often, I will remind you all once again to take all unsourced news items in the sci-fi comics entertainment cybersphere with a huge grain of salt. Then this continues to say that Batman Caped Crusader is being touted as a spiritual successor to Batman the Animated Series, which makes talk of Conroy's involvement understandable. That is a huge task to take on if they want to try to accomplish that, because Batman the Animated Series is by far probably one of the best animated series ever to be produced in the modern age. And I will go to my grave always thinking that. That was a brilliant show. Brilliant show. But with all that clarification out of the way, it's still said that he has voiced or has some recording for this Infinite Crisis movie that they're working on. So we could potentially get to hear his voice return one last time. And of course, I'm all for that. So yeah. So that's it this morning for the headlines and all. And as Star-Lord said, I'm here all week up until now because we are going to call it for the morning. But thank you so much for tuning in. I totally appreciate all of the support from this past week. I hope you had a good week. I hope you have an even better weekend. Of course, like always, if you enjoyed this watching live or on the replay, I hope you hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to stay up to date with everything we do here on the channel. If you want to further help support the channel, we have memberships open for as little as $1. Well, that's the only tier we have right now. You could support this on a monthly basis for just $1. I feel like one of those commercials, you know, with the hungry kids. Oh my God, I sound terrible. You remember back in the day, it's like just as little as 25 cents a day, you could help this starving child. Now, I'm not starving, so I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying for as little as $1, you can help support the channel on a monthly basis there, or check out any of the affiliates that we have listed in the description, because anything done through those affiliate links, we did get a little kickback, and all that goes back to supporting this channel here. You don't have to. The best way to support, like I said, comment, like, subscribe, and spread the word. Star-Lord, I hope you have an awesome weekend. Thank you. I will catch you all next week. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe, and I will see you Monday next time. Bye-bye.